Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight. When it comes to relationships, sometimes you meet a man who isn't really serious about you. He's just playing games with your emotions. He keeps you confused, keeps you guessing, keeps you hoping for something real while he's just stringing you along. Now the question is, how do you outsmart a man who's messing with your emotions? The truth is, you don't fight games with games. You fight it with wisdom, clarity, and self-respect. When you're dealing with a man who is messing with your emotions, the first and most important thing you've got to do is recognize the signs. Recognition is power because you can't fight something that you don't even realize is happening. Too often, people ignore red flags because they want so badly for the relationship to work. They want so badly for the story in their head to come true that they pretend not to see the truth that's right in front of them. But the truth is this. If you feel confused most of the time, if you spend more energy trying to figure out where you stand than actually enjoying the relationship, then that's a sign. Confusion itself is a form of clarity. If you're always left wondering what you mean to him, chances are you don't mean as much as you want to believe. A man who's messing with your emotions is never consistent. He's hot and cold. One day he makes you feel like you're the most important person in the world, and the next day he disappears like you don't exist. One day he's texting you nonstop, telling you everything you want to hear, and then suddenly he goes silent for days, making you question yourself, making you think you did something wrong. But here's the truth. That inconsistency is the game. It's intentional. He keeps you guessing because when you're guessing, you're chasing. When you're confused, you're vulnerable, and he knows that vulnerability keeps you hooked. Recognizing that pattern is the first step in outsmarting him. Instead of asking yourself, why is he acting like this? You've got to start asking, why am I tolerating this? When you change the question, you change the power dynamic. Because once you understand that his inconsistency isn't love, it's control, you stop letting it pull you back and forth. You stop riding the emotional roller coaster he built just to keep you dizzy and distracted. Think about it. Real love, real commitment, real intention, those things are not confusing. They're steady. They're reliable, they bring peace, not chaos. A man who truly cares about you won't leave you wondering where you stand. He won't disappear when you need him most. He won't give you just enough attention to keep you hanging on while he goes off doing whatever he wants. He will be clear, consistent, and intentional about making you feel secure. Anything less than that is a game, and the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you take back your control. The problem is, a lot of people fall for potential instead of reality. They remember the good days when he was sweet, loving, and present, and they keep holding on, hoping that version of him will come back. But that's the trick. He gives you just enough good moments to keep you holding on, then he pulls away to keep you chasing. That's why recognition is everything. You've got to see that those highs and lows aren't love, they're manipulation. And the longer you deny it, the longer you allow yourself to be trapped in his cycle. Once you recognize the signs, you stop playing blind. You stop making excuses for him. You stop telling yourself maybe he's just busy, maybe he's stressed, maybe he'll change. No, a man who wants you makes the effort, period. A man who respects you doesn't keep you confused. A man who values you doesn't treat your emotions like a toy he can play with whenever he feels like it. Recognition puts you in the driver's seat because now you know what game is being played and you get to choose whether or not you're going to play. Outsmarting a man who messes with your emotions doesn't start with clever tricks or mind games of your own. It starts with awareness. It starts with saying, I see what this is, and I won't be fooled anymore. The moment you recognize that inconsistency is not affection, that confusion is not love, that uncertainty is not passion, you strip away his power. Because a game only works if you don't know you're in it. Once you see it clearly, you've already won half the battle. Never let your emotions make decisions for you, because the moment you do, you hand your power away to someone else. When a man is messing with your emotions, that's exactly what he wants. He wants to control how you feel, because when he can control how you feel, he can control what you do. He can control whether you chase him, whether you accept less than you deserve, whether you bend your standards just to keep him around. That's the game. He thrives on pulling you back and forth like a puppet on strings, and the strings are your emotions. If he can make you mad, he can also make you forgive him too fast. If he can make you jealous, he can also make you fight for him harder. If he can make you insecure, he can also make you settle for breadcrumbs just to feel wanted. The whole trick is emotional control. But here's the thing. When you learn to control your emotions, he loses his grip. He can't play with someone who doesn't react the way he expects. If he disappears for a few days and you don't blow up his phone, he don't win. If he flirts with someone else in front of you and you don't fall apart, he doesn't win. If he says something designed to make you doubt yourself, but you stay grounded in who you are, he doesn't. The biggest move you can make is to stay calm when he wants you to get chaotic. That's how you flip the script, because men who play games feed off reactions. Starve him of that reaction, and he loses his power over you. Now, I'm not saying you have to act like you don't care, because I know you do care. That's why it hurts. That's why it frustrates you. But what I'm saying is, you can't let that care blind you into making foolish decisions. Emotions are temporary, but decisions have long-term consequences. One bad decision made out of anger, jealousy, or desperation can tie you to a man who was never good for you in the first place. That's why you've got to slow down and separate your feelings from your choices. Feelings say, I miss him. Wisdom says, he's no good for me. Feelings say, I don't want to be alone. Wisdom says, being alone is better than being used. If you let feelings lead, you'll go back to a man who doesn't deserve you every time. But if you let wisdom lead, you'll realize that controlling your emotions is how you protect yourself. When you refuse to be reactive, you're showing him that his games don't work anymore. He wants you chasing, begging, fighting, doubting yourself, because as long as you're doing that, he's in control. But when you remain steady, when you keep your peace, when you stop letting every move he makes dictate how you feel about yourself, he realizes he can't manipulate you anymore. That's how you outsmart him. Not by outplaying his tricks, but by refusing to play the emotional tug of war he's trying to drag you into. You've got to understand something. A man who plays with your emotions isn't looking for love. He's looking for control. And if he sees that he can't control you, he'll either step up and show you respect, or he'll walk away because his game doesn't work on you anymore. Either way, you win. You're no longer the one being played with, you're the one making the choice. And that's what happens when you stop letting your emotions call the shots. You get your power back. Control doesn't mean shutting down your heart. It doesn't mean being cold or pretending you don't feel anything. It means you acknowledge your feelings, but you don't let them drive you into decisions that don't serve you. It means you say to yourself, yes, I care about him, but I care about me more. It means you stop reacting to his inconsistency and start responding to your own worth. Because when you know your worth, you can feel all the emotions in the world and still choose not to be played by them. That's the difference between being controlled and being in control. Outsmarting a man who's messing with your emotions comes down to one powerful move: setting boundaries and sticking to them. A lot of people get played because they never make it clear what they will and won't accept. They just keep bending, compromising, and hoping that he'll magically change. But here's the truth. A man who knows he can keep crossing your boundaries without consequences will keep doing it, because you've trained him that your lines don't matter. The only way to stop being played is to create standards and stand by them, no matter how much you care about him, no matter how much you wish he'd do better. When you set boundaries, you're drawing a line that says, this is what I deserve, and I will not settle for less. And let me tell you something. A man who is serious about you, who respects you, will honor that line. He may not be perfect, he may make mistakes, but he'll try to meet the standard because he wants you. But a man who's just playing games will test that line. He'll see if you're bluffing, he'll push you to see if you'll fold. And if you keep bending, if you keep forgiving without change, if you keep lowering your standards just to keep him around, you're teaching him that his games work. That's not outsmarting him. That's letting him win. The power is not in announcing your boundaries, it's in enforcing them. You don't have to argue. You don't have to debate. You don't have to write long speeches to explain why you won't tolerate certain things. All you have to do is follow through. If he disappears for days without explanation and comes back like nothing happened, you don't reward him with attention. If he lies to you and expects you to accept excuses, you don't sweep it under the rug. If he disrespects you, you don't stick around, hoping it'll be different next time. You show him with your actions that disrespect costs him access to you. That's the kind of strength that makes games stop. But here's where a lot of people struggle. They set a boundary, then they break it themselves. They say, if he cheats, I'm done. But then he cheats and they take him back. They say, if he disappears, I'll move on. But then they wait by the phone, hoping he calls. Every time you break your own boundary, you weaken your position and strengthen his game. Outsmarting a man means being consistent. If you say you won't tolerate something, then don't tolerate it. If you say you'll walk away, then be ready to walk away. Because the moment he sees that you mean what you say, he knows the game is over. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. Boundaries are doors that let the right kind of love in and keep the wrong kind of love out. They protect your peace, your heart, and your worth. And the truth is, when you stand by your boundaries, you don't just outsmart a man who's playing games. You attract men who aren't playing at all. Because real men, men who are serious, are drawn to women who know their worth. They don't see boundaries as a challenge. They see them as a sign of value. They step up because they know they've got to bring more than games to the table. So many times, people confuse boundaries with ultimatums. Boundaries aren't about trying to control him. They're about controlling yourself. They're about saying, I can't control what you do, but I can control what I accept. And I will not accept being treated like an option when I know I'm a priority. I will not accept confusion when I deserve clarity. I will not accept lies when I value honesty. That's not controlling someone else. That's respecting yourself. And once you respect yourself enough to enforce your boundaries, you'll never have to beg someone to treat you right again. When a man is messing with your emotions, one of the smartest things you can do is shift the focus back to yourself. The mistake most people make is pouring all of their time and energy into figuring him out. What he's thinking, what he's feeling, what his next move will be. That's how you get trapped in his cycle. You end up spending your days analyzing every text, replaying every conversation, and questioning every little thing he does. That energy drains you because it's energy going into someone who isn't giving you the same in return. The power move is to take all that energy back and reinvest it in yourself, your growth, and your happiness. See, the truth is, when you're focused on him, you lose yourself. You forget what makes you happy outside of him. You forget the things you were passionate about before he showed up. You start neglecting your goals, your peace, and your worth, all because you're too wrapped up in what he's doing or not doing. But when you decide to shift that focus back to you, everything changes. You stop being the woman who waits by the phone and start being the woman who is busy living her life. You stop being the one chasing after his attention and start being the one creating your own joy. That shift not only protects your heart, it also makes you harder to manipulate. Because here's the truth about game players. They want you obsessed with them. They want you to feel like your happiness depends on their attention. That's how they keep control. But when you show him that your world doesn't revolve around him, when you make it clear that you're fine with or without his attention, you flip the script. You're no longer the one being controlled. You're the one in control. And nothing throws a man who's playing games off balance more than realizing that you're not sitting around waiting for him. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about relationships. It means you stop caring about the wrong ones. It means you recognize that you have dreams, talents, and goals that deserve your energy. It means you start building a life so full that his inconsistency doesn't shake you anymore. You start hitting the gym not for him but for you. You start pursuing your career goals not because you want to prove something to him, but because you deserve success. You start surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, not people who drain you. The more you invest in yourself, the less room you leave for someone to play with you. And let's be honest, nothing is more attractive than someone who knows their own value. When you shift the focus back to yourself, you glow differently. You carry yourself differently. You give off the energy of someone who cannot be broken down by games. And men notice that. The ones who were playing will either step up or step out. And either way, you win. The ones who are serious will be drawn to that strength because real men are not intimidated by a woman who knows her worth. They're inspired by it. When you start focusing on yourself, you also stop settling. You stop saying yes to half love, half a blow, and half truths. You realize you don't need someone to complete you because you are already whole. That wholeness is what protects you from being trapped in cycles of manipulation, because once you know you're complete on your own, you'll never fall for the lie that you need to accept games just to feel love. Shifting the focus back to yourself doesn't mean you close your heart to love. It means you open your heart to the right kind of love. It means you refuse to waste your energy on someone who isn't giving you what you deserve. It means you choose to pour into yourself first so that when love does come, it has to meet you at your level. And that's how you outsmart a man who's messing with your emotions. By making sure your life, your joy, and your worth are never dependent on his game. When a man is messing with your emotions, one of the strongest strategies you can use is silence. See, when someone is playing games, they thrive off your reactions. They want you to blow up their phone. They want you to argue. They want you to cry. They want you to demand answers because that reaction tells them they still have control. The moment you give into that cycle, you're feeding their game. But silence is a weapon most people underestimate. Silence says, I see what you're doing, but I won't give you the satisfaction of knowing it affects me. That silence confuses a game player because they expect chaos. And when they don't get it, the power they thought they had over you starts to slip away. When you respond with silence instead of anger, it's not weakness, it's strength. Anybody can scream, anybody can argue, anybody can get caught up in back and forth drama, but it takes real strength to stay calm, to keep your peace, to say nothing when your emotions are begging you to explode. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself more than you care about reacting to his nonsense. It means you're choosing your peace over his drama. And let me tell you, nothing gets to a man more than realizing his tricks don't get to you anymore. The beauty of silence is that it forces him to sit with himself. When you don't reply, he has to deal with his own actions. He has to wonder why you're not chasing him, why you're not begging for answers, why you're not reacting the way you used to. That space makes him question himself, and that questioning is powerful because game players hate being ignored. They hate when their control starts slipping away. Silence is not about punishing him, it's about protecting yourself. It's about saying, I'm not going to engage in a game I never signed up to play. Now, don't get me wrong, silence isn't always easy. When your emotions are on fire, when you feel hurt or betrayed, your first instinct is to lash out, to demand answers, to make him feel the same pain you feel. But in those moments, silence is the higher move. Because words said in anger don't fix anything. They only give him more chances to twist the story, more chances to manipulate, more chances to pull you back into his cycle. But silence leaves no room for manipulation. It leaves no cracks for him to slip through. It's a closed door. And a closed door is something he can't play with. The trick is to understand that silence is not passive. It's active. It's a choice. It's saying, I'm not ignoring you out of weakness. I'm ignoring you because I value myself too much to waste my breath on this. That's power. That's control. And that's how you outsmart a man who's trying to mess with your emotions, because if his goal is to keep you chasing, the smartest thing you can do is stop running. If his goal is to get a reaction, the smartest thing you can do is stay calm. At the end of the day, silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. Silence says, you're done playing. Silence says your peace matters more than his games. Silence says you see the truth and you won't waste your energy proving it to someone who already knows what they're doing. And when you master that silence, you become untouchable, because no one can manipulate someone who refuses to engage. The smartest way to outsmart a man who's messing with your emotions is knowing when to walk away. A lot of people lose themselves trying to win a game that isn't even worth playing. They think if they just love harder, wait longer, or prove themselves more, somehow he'll change. But the truth is, you can't beat a player at his own game. The only way to win is to refuse to play. Walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. It's saying, my peace is more valuable than this confusion. My worth is greater than this game, and my future deserves better than this cycle. The hardest part is convincing yourself that walking away is not a loss. People stay in toxic situations because they're afraid of starting over, afraid of being alone, afraid that letting go means they've failed. But walking away is the opposite of failure. It's growth. It's strength. It's proof that you finally understand what you deserve. When you leave someone who's messing with your emotions, you're not losing them, you're freeing yourself. You're breaking chains that were keeping you stuck in stress, insecurity, and doubt. That freedom is worth more than any empty promise a game player could ever give you. You are dedicating your freedom. A man who's serious about you won't risk losing you in the first place. He won't take your heart for granted or put you in a position where walking away feels like the only option. So if you have to walk, understand that it's because he already made his choice. He chose games over love, control over commitment, confusion over clarity. And once you see that for what it is, you realize you're not leaving something valuable behind. You're leaving behind a situation that was never truly meant for you. Walking away also sends a message louder than any argument. You don't have to scream.